And so we've talked about electricity, we've talked about ice, and Reese, what other element would be appropriate for the number one prospect in the system, fittingly named Chase Burns, than fire, the head of the dragon that breathes fire? Name a better pitcher name than Chase Burns. Fabulous name for a pitcher, and the
Great name.
arsenal is right there to match. Tell me about Chase Burns.
I think that if you were making an MLB the show sort of pitcher, I think this is what you'd have. You'd have a high end fastball that touches 101. You have an electric slider 86 to 89. You have a curveball 82 to 85, and a changeup that's 88 to 91. His 1 year at Wake Forest did a lot for him. I think the command still needs to take that next step forward. But this is someone that we were talking about. Like, if the Reds were a competitive team, I know that people were saying Chase Burns has the sort of stuff that can play in a bullpen right now. Like, we're talking about high octane stuff. It is a really good frame. He's 6'3". He's well filled out. He's pretty athletic too. This is a guy who, if everything turns out right, he is the sort of like number two starter. I don't want to put an ace level on him because I don't really like to put an ace level on any sort of pitcher, but he's a really good number two going forward. We're talking about, double plus spin rates. We're talking about on the slider. The slider is just a hellacious pitch. I think that he can get batters out right now. I think that he can very much follow the Rhett Lauder path where it's, maybe he starts out in high A, and everyone's like, "Well, that's kind of weird." We thought that he'd be promoted, there, but they obviously they'll have a plan for him, and he might have a chance to debut and pitch a couple of innings for the Reds in 2025 with a big league squad. I think this is a sort of arm that they went out of their way to draft him with the second overall pick when people were like, "This is kind of a weird selection," and then they gave him pretty decent slot too at 9.2 million. So Chase Burns, he's just everything you sort of want in a pitching prospect. He's all that in a bag of chips.
Well said. You talked about the slider, and it's tremendous. If I'm not mistaken, it was like over 60% whiffs in his senior season at
Mm-hmm.
Wake on the slider. But we're not talking about the fastball enough, man. Cut, ride. It could touch 101, like you said. And the heater itself, over 2,700 RPMs at times on the fastball. The dude spins it. It P cool, if I'm going to say so myself. Electric, truly. Electric was Chase Petty. Fire stuff, obviously. His name is Burns. I got to quote my friend Jared Perkins. He said once, "We're really kind of running out of words to describe how good Chase Burns is at this point." And I said, "Has anyone said cromulent yet?" Jared said, "No, they haven't." I was like, "Well, I'll throw that in there." So everyone at home, if you're wondering just how good is Chase Burns, he is a perfectly cromulent pitcher. Reese, clearly one of the better players. I've got him right now at number 8 in my FYPD rankings, and that's obviously considering that there are guys that are going to help more quickly. But at the end of the day, Burns could very easily be one of the top 3, top 5 players from a class that I think is deceptively quite strong. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think the only question is the command. It does tend to come and go with him. And the changeup, it needs a little bit more separation from the fastball. We're talking about an 88 to 91 mile per
Definitely.
hour changeup. If that was a cutter, that would be great velocity band for it to be in. I think that the changeup needs to be a little bit more, like there needs to be more velocity separation from it so it allows it to play more. But we're also talking about 3 pitches that we comfortably grade as above 60, right? We got a 60 fastball, 70 slider, 60 curveball. So maybe just having an average changeup is just fine because it gives him a weapon against lefties that are keying in on the fastball slider combination.
I do think, honestly, yeah, just take a couple ticks off the changeup because really something kind of in that like maybe mid 80s. Or Lord, if it was even slower, that'd be just filth. But I don't know that his arm can produce anything at that velocity band. And you guys at home, you hear us talk about the velocity bands a lot. I think that would be good. And you were talking about the grades on his pitches, man. I think I might even bump the fastball to a 65 if you ask me. You didn't, obviously, and that's totally fine. You guys are doing it, and you're doing it well.